Okay, so we are going to look at sentence completion. Just before we begin, it's important to explain to you how sentence completion questions come and the best way to tackle them and get your answers right. Now, sentence completion is that part of your reading test where an extract will be made from the main passage. Now, the extract is usually gotten from certain aspect of the paragraph. Sometimes they might pick from half of the first paragraph, that's half below, and join it to the first half of the second paragraph. Then they use them to compose what we call guided composition to create a little bit of an extracted passage. Now, extract made from the passage is not usually done based on copy and paste. They make the extract and paraphrase them to compose what you would now have to supply missing information to. Now, when the extracts are being made from the various paragraphs that follow each other, some areas will be omitted, especially vital information omitted, and those are the things you would have to provide as your answer. Now, sometimes you would read this extract that is being paraphrased, and when you get the answers, it appears as though the answer does not make sense to you. And because of that, lots of test takers tend to paraphrase the answers. They want to change the form of the answer so it makes sense to them. That would make your answer to be incorrect. So when you find your answer, write it that way. It may not make 100% sense to you, but the examiners know exactly that that's the correct answer. Because of the paraphrase, which requires you to provide missing information from the original passage. Now, the original passage has the actual word, which makes sense in the context as used in the original passage. But in the paraphrased way, it might appear as though the sentence does not really make a lot of sense. So because of that, some test takers tend to change the form of the word. So if the word is in maybe obey in the original passage, when it's been extracted and paraphrased, if they put the word obey, it doesn't make a lot of sense grammatically. So they want to change it to obedient. But if you do that, the answer will be incorrect, because in a passage, there is no such word as obedient. What exists there is obey. So your answers to sentence completion must be copy and paste. Just copy it exactly the way it appears in the original passage and paste it in the area where it's supposed to come. Now, the paraphrase form of the extract information or extracted information do not always have all the words being paraphrased. No, it is usually the keywords that are often paraphrased. So when you find where the extract was made from, you are 90% close to your answer. Look carefully and intently around where that particular area that you have seen, that's where your answer is. Correct. So I'm going to share some extract, a little extract from the main passage, which would help us to understand how best to tackle sentence completion. And I'll share certain questions and the passage extract. So we use it to actually put heads together and get our answer. So just in a jiffy, I would share my screen. Right. Now we have these extracts entitled workplace health and safety considerations for plumbers. So I would quickly take us through. Like I said in the summary text that we practiced with in summary answers in the previous video, answers to summary answers, sentence completion, and short answers, the answers usually come in descending order. And one interesting thing about these three topics I've mentioned is there are usually clues that would help to direct you to the particular paragraph where you should look out for your answer. So let's look at this screen that I'm sharing. Please, I believe we can see the screen.
Yeah.
Right. So here there are subheadings such as biohazard waste, confined space, electricity. So when you go to the question section, you would most likely see headings like this. It will help you to avoid scanning through the entire extract. Rather, you are to focus a lot more on the particular area where you have the subheadings. With that, you manage your time and the accuracy of your answer will be very high. So let's look carefully and see how we can get our answers quickly and more accurately. I will read very quickly. Like many trades, plumbing can be a dangerous job. It is important to take all reasonably practicable measures to keep customers and yourself incident and injury free. Biohazard waste. Plumbers regularly come into contact with biohazard waste. It's the nature of the job. But that doesn't mean you should be complacent about it. According to Safe Work Australia, communicable diseases from work-related exposures to biological hazards such as sewage have been estimated to cause 320,000 deaths across the globe each year. In addition to this, plumbers are regularly exposed to other biohazards such as mold, bacteria, and algae. Don't risk it. Make sure appropriate protective clothing and equipment is used. So let's quickly go to where we have the question. All right, so here is the question. It is in a tabular form. It says choose one word only from the text for each answer. Write your answers in boxes 15 to 20 on your answer sheet. Now we have the column right here. This. It has heading. So what you need to do is read the heading and follow the line. That's the row to get your answer. So you read this first guy here. Okay, let me make it easier for us. Right. So first thing first, read this guy here. So when you are done, when you read biohazards, you quickly go to the question that you're supposed to treat. And that would help you to easily get your answer. For instance, here you have biohazards, which falls under type of danger. Please don't forget this. So first thing first, type of danger. After that, you go to the examples as provided in the passage. Then after that, you look at the risks involved, if that is where your answer is supposed to come on. Then lastly, you go to your necessary actions. These are ways about getting your answers. Now, to begin, let's look at the first part, one after another. The first thing is biohazards, which we have read the passage. Now, the question says, dash, mold, bacteria, algae. So what you want to do is go back to the passage and read. Look for where you have the list of biohazards. So from here, please let's be careful. Biohazards such as these are the three captured on that question section, right? But the answer is not here, right? So what do you need to do? There is a biohazard mentioned somewhere. You want to be very careful. Don't fall for distractors because they are always everywhere. Look at this. Biohazards, such as what?
Sewage.
This is your first answer. Sewage. Please, do you understand this?
Yes, sir.
Now, this part, mold, bacteria, and algae are already listed on the question. So the missing one is this sewage. This is where your answer is. So please, you need to be careful when you are picking your answers. Do not fall for distractors because they are always everywhere. Please, I hope this is clear to us. So we shall go to the next question very quickly.
Yes, a confined species.
So after reading where your answer is, you don't necessarily need to go to this area of risk involved because no answer is required there. You do not need to read the necessary actions because no answer is required. Now you want to come to confined spaces. This is where your next answer should come. So first thing first, you want to go to where you have confined spaces when you go to the passage. So you look out for the paragraph that is entitled confined spaces. Now, the first part does not require any answer. Contaminants, e.g. gases, vapors, and dust. No answer is required there. High concentrations of harmful and airborne contaminants, e.g. carbon monoxide. No answer is required there. When you go to the risks involved, you come down to the first row, which is injury from fire, explosion. No answer is required there. Under it, you have 16. So you want to read to find out what risks is involved under confined spaces, because this is where your answer falls. So we have to work this out very quickly. So let's read. You want to carefully go through this area because this is where your answer lies. I would highlight it, look carefully, and identify your answer. Here is where your answer lies. For example, one plumber was fined $220,000 after an employee suffered from carbon monoxide poisoning. That's a risk. And the answer requires just one word. So what's our answer? The answer is just this guy right here. Poisoning. That's our answer. So all you need is to be very careful, follow it chronologically, because the answers are usually in the descending order. And the good thing is that you have a clue as regards to the paragraph you should specifically go to look for your answer. So poisoning, confined spaces is the particular place you should look for the answer, a paragraph of confined spaces. And the risk is poisoning. That's our answer. Let's go to the next question. Please, I hope we are following.
Yes, sir.
Now, still under confined spaces, we are to get our answer to question 17. And you are looking at the example that has to do with water and the risk involved underwater. This is where your concentration should be. But remember, you are to look for your answer still under the paragraph of confined spaces, right? So you don't want to read through other paragraphs because your answers will not be found there. So let's quickly go to that area. All right, so reading further, it says, another potential hazard for plumbers is confined spaces. Sorry, in confined spaces is that of drowning if water sources are not adequately cut off. So what works with water in this particular area we have read? What works with water? It has to do with drowning. That's where our answer is. So you quickly pick your answer. You don't have time to waste. Drowning is your answer, and that's what it is. So after that, you quickly go to the next place where you are to get your answer from. And that is for question 18. Now, question 18 is under electricity. Don't forget, you have areas of concentration to get your answers from. Now, when you get to the paragraph that talks about electricity, example of anything that has to do with electricity will not give you your answer. The risk involved in electricity will not give you your answer. Rather, the necessary action, this is where your answer will fall. The necessary action under electricity. That's where your answer should come from. So you want to go to the necessary actions and focus a lot more on this part that has to do with installation. Then look for the part that talks about equipment. And then lastly, you look for the part that says you should make sure that electricity has been dashed. So let's quickly go to such areas and get our answers. Okay. So under electricity, I would read very quickly. The Master Plumbers Association calls electricity plumbing's pillar. Metal pipes are often conductive, and so gloves, which provide insulation, should form part of a plumber's toolkit. As such, a plumbing voltage monitor and a volt tester. Now, from here, we found something that has to do with insulation, which we also saw at the question section. I believe we saw that. Now, we are looking at actions that should be taken. So a number of information with regards to action have been provided. So let's look at the right one that would constitute the appropriate answer. And this is what you should look at. Gloves. Gloves. That's where your answer is. Look at it. It's mentioned here very clearly. It says gloves should provide insulation. Sorry, gloves which provide insulation should form part of a plumber's toolkit. So it simply tells us that gloves is the right answer. Let's quickly look at the question again. So we have provided use insulated gloves and appropriate equipment. What are the appropriate equipment as mentioned here? It's talking about voltage monitor, right? You can see them here. Other appropriate equipment mentioned here involve voltage monitor and volt tester, right? So you can see that paraphrasing has taken place there. So you want to be extremely careful. Then the next one says, ensure equipment has dash on to show it is safe. Ensure equipment has dash on to show it is safe. So let's quickly go to the passage. Now it says gloves should be checked prior to every use and replaced every 12 to 14 months. Electrical equipment like bridging conductors should be regularly checked with appropriate tags on the equipment to verify its safety. Paraphrase. Please, are we following what's happening here?
Yeah.
So you want to be sure that where you are looking at with regards to your right answer is where it is. Electrical equipment like bridging conductors should be regularly checked with appropriate tags on or on the equipment to verify its safety. Now look at what the question says. The question says, ensure equipment has dash on to show it is safe. So it should have what on? Tag or tags on to show it is safe. The passage paraphrased to ensure it to verify its safety. That's what a passage says. It's here. To verify its safety. That's it. So you want to have clear understanding of paraphrasing because reading does a lot of paraphrasing. So if you are not grounded in paraphrasing, you would likely find it a little difficult, and in most cases you'll be confused, you know, getting where the right answer is. So let's quickly go to the next question. Make sure electricity has been dashed. Make sure the electricity. Make sure electricity has been dashed. So let's see what the question says. The project has been stopped or should be stopped immediately if there is any sign of electricity, so that the power can be disconnected by a qualified electrician from prior to continuing work. Let me take us back to the question. It says, make sure electricity has been dashed. And the question says, so that. Okay, I think I should just indicate where exactly. It's here.
Yeah.
So that the power can be disconnected by a qualified electrician prior to continuing work. So the answer is disconnected. That's the right answer. That's the right answer. So this is how to get your answers when you are treating sentence completion. You would realize that in all that we've done, the answers were just descending. The answers were just coming down, you know, from top to bottom. It wasn't taking you back and forth, no. So when your answer is gotten, the next one would keep coming down. So the major thing for you is ensure you are able to identify where your answer is. So the first answer, once you find it, the next answers will keep coming down, right? So please, there is nothing difficult in reading. All you need to do is understand the reading questions according to the topics. If you understand some of these topics, it is easier for you to treat the reading questions following the topics and how they are best solved. This will make the reading experience quite interesting and fun to you. Your time management will be very high. The accuracy of your answer will be very high as well. Because in reading tests, any answer that is incorrect potentially drops your band score, right? So please, you need to really ensure you work on your topics, understanding of the topics and how to get the answers. And when you go for your reading test on the day of your exam, ensure you try to tackle the questions following the topics. You must not, you are not bound or compelled by any law or policy to follow the questions from 1 to 40. If sentence completion is covering questions 21 to 26, go and solve it. And when you're solving it, you are sure within yourself that I would get my answers. Your time management will be very high. So please, these are ways to tackle reading tests. Do we have any questions? All right. So this is where we'll end today. We'll continue some other time. Ciao, ciao. See you next session.
Thank you.